Good morning. It says we're live. Good evening or good afternoon, wherever you may be. I'm Hawkeye Two Feathers, also known as David Null. I welcome you all with the wisdom of the infinite creator, and I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And so it is Friday night at about 11:20 p.m. Hey Pearl, I had to reboot the computer and it just kind of just upset everything. And then I noticed that Max has got another class tonight, and I was trying to avoid being on with anybody else, but I don't know if I could wait till longer. And I already published this, and anyway. So I hope you all are having a good evening, or I don't think it's morning time yet for some of us, but hey, Witch Moon, how are you? I think I told you last time I seen you that yeah, I saw your post on on the puppet thing, and I might have you confused with somebody else, but I just posted the most amazing video of my grandma and Tupac. Cool beans. I'm suffering with itchiness all over my face. And it got so bad, if you can tell, I've done something drastic. Did you send me something else too about smoking? And then I'll just leave it there. It was on another, but I think I've got you mixed up with somebody else. But anyway, I just want to let you know that I read it. If it was you, Mark, how are you? Yeah, can you tell? I mean, it looked like a freaking frog or something. You know, I can't remember the last time I shaved. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I went, who the hell is that? I mean, who the hell is that? But anyway, I the itching that I'm having from the medicines, and I'm assuming because I wear the mask right here, and it's got all this butyl stuff in it, and that it's having an effect itchiness with my face. I'm just assuming because they don't really know. But if you see me like doing this stuff, I'm itching. It's madness. It has been madness. And I've tried different things, and I'm still trying different things, but I don't want to take anything. See, I mean, it's up here on my forehead. It itches. It's just uncomfortable. But it's 11:26, and I came to share a bowl with y'all. Can only take minor little tweaks along the way, but it's Friday night, and it's been a really weird week. And I rather than sit here and try to watch a movie or something I didn't really want to watch, I thought I would come on here and pester y'all. And for those that didn't want to hang out with Max on his channel, then you'd hang out with me. I did leave a message about smoking less and what and how much I. Thank you. Yes. All right. There was you, but I've had other people do that too, and I want to let you know that anytime you need my help or whatever, I'm behind you 110% because there's just you already know there's been so much in my life, and I slugged it out mostly on my own. I've had a couple of friends who both are now passed that helped me some. Hi, I haven't said hi to Bob recently. Hey Bob, we hope you're doing well out there in AI land. And I just want to let you know that I appreciate Bob, I appreciate what you do, but some of your cousins have just gone bat crap cray cray. with resetting stuff, and I don't know what's going on, but keep us level, Bob. And I would give you coffee, but it would ruin my computer that's not working tremendously well at the moment. Mark, here, I want to smoke some. I've been very good this last week. I've been out of the hospital a week and I guess 10 days. I mean, week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're 10 days I've been out of the hospital. And my I res- for I received my blood pressure cuff from our good friend Steve Clark in the chat room from us. I received it yesterday, a day ahead of time. Great. I've been checking my BP several times a day. I went up, me and Duggar walked up to the top of the driveway and got mail, and I came back just about a little over an hour or so ago. Was going to go in the early afternoon before the sun goes down, but we took an evening walk when it was dark. And so when I got back, I sat down and hooked up to the machine to see if there was any noticeable difference in my walking up there and coming back, and there wasn't. I was like, well, that's good. So I've been right at 120 over 70, and my uh, pulse has been from 55 to 65, which for me, I'm like, what? Because it's been like 90. It was been consistently 90, 89, 92, but I mean, it's been consistently 90. Everybody tickled to death that it's at that rate. I'm good. But I get home and I get the machine, not to say the machine is right or wrong, but it's been giving me just in one day now, it has been giving me consistently 55 to 60 as my heart rate. There ain't nothing wrong with that, y'all. I'm not complaining. My complaint is that everything is so much lower than it was. I don't know how to act. I mean, I literally don't know how to act. The medicines are making me kind of loopy, kind of thing. So, and one of the things that caught my eye during this medicine retrieval and trying to understand what is it doing to my mind, I'm doing my normal thing of going through the subscriptions and this and that, and I'm looking at titles and seeing what folks are talking about. And I talked about the other night, just sort of like, hey, while I got y'all here, ET's been lying to us again because, something was supposed to happen in July. It didn't. This was supposed to happen in January, and this was supposed to happen. Well, ain't none of it happened yet. If so, okay, it's like Lionsgate. Lionsgate was supposed to be open the other day, and anything really, can we say anything happened? I don't know. And I'm not trying to criticize them, just for folks who bring it up, oh, it's this again. Okay. And we're all gonna, not a problem, but what y'all get out of it, I just don't understand. And every time it comes up, everybody wants to do the same thing and pray. All right, but I'm sorry, but for whatever we're supposed to be doing, it up to this point in time, it doesn't seem like it's done one iota bit of good. Okay, prove me wrong. I want you to prove me wrong. But so now the new date is October the 3rd. And I've heard this date bandied about a couple of months ago. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But they were all talking about at the time, June and July. And when we get to August, well, so now we're at the July's over and August is here. So the next date for, get this, the transition that some folks are calling Ascension. And that's why I wanted to have this discussion again because, but anyway, I don't want to jump ahead of myself. I've had all my medicines this evening, which is a pile of them. I've had my treatment. And so, and it makes my brain just kind of want to jump out of line. So it's taken a lot for me to like stay focused. So not in a bad way, but it's harder than normal to stay focused. So, but anyway, October the 3rd. So, what is October the 3rd? Okay, it's when the light's supposed to snap. Everybody across the world is supposed to feel this transition that will bring them up into grade closer to a fourth dimension. That's what they discuss. Okay. Hey, Barry, again, that's what they've been chatting about now for several years. It's a coming. Now, it's supposed to be involved with some of the galactic waves that are coming in. It's supposed to be part of just all this other stuff. But there are folks who have already picked up the words ascension. Okay. Please, Lord Jesus, stop using that word, because if you're going to ascend, it involves death. Why? Because this last near death experience I had when I'm floating around with Brian, who died and has ascended. Okay. Brian, who had a heart attack that passed away 2 years ago. Brian Barnett, Milky Way's son, uh, Miss Brenda Milky Way, um, ascended because he died. The ascension doesn't come while you're still alive. You make all kinds of different transitions, my friends. Please pray for the transition. Do not be praying that y'all gonna ascend, because that's gonna mean a bunch of dead people. Okay. Now, unfortunately, I think that's going to happen anyway, because there are a lot of people who are sick all of a sudden. I've got two friends of mine that I've tried to call since I've been out of the hospital. I used to be able to reach them with at least, if I called this afternoon and left a message, I would be in touch with them within a day or so. They'd call me back, something would happen, right? I have called friends of mine several times and they ain't there. I mean, they just ain't out there. The one gentleman that I tried to call several times, as soon I had a bad feeling when I was in the hospital, floating around with death, and I was like, Randall. And when I got back here, I called him. We've been friends for 40 years or more. Lives due south of me, Mr. Randall Smith, and I cannot get in touch with him. And I'm afraid to look in the obituaries because I might find him there. So he lived by himself, didn't have anybody take care of him. We've been buddies for the longest time. Oh, for the longest time. But another friend of mine, Mr. Tom, that I've talked about several times here in reference to being one of my bestest friends ever, lives in Tallahassee. Been trying to get in touch with him. Nothing. Zero, zip, ain't nothing out there. I've tried using the old brain power, which he and I was thinking about you the other day, so I decided to call. That ain't working neither. Another friend of mine up north, I've tried calling him several times. And usually, if I bug him two or three times, he'll call me back like, hey, what you want? Quit bugging me. Okay, lets me know you're live. There ain't nothing out there. And one other friend too that I've been trying to like, hey, are you okay? There's no response. So I say this in that I know a person who was put into a coma the other day, who has heart issues and a pacemaker and stuff, and who has been sick in the past. And recent uh, developments in her life has given her issue, and she's gotten worse. Now, I hate to say this, but her condition is that she was bad enough before they had to introduce a coma and intubate her and put her under and keep her in this state. I watched my pops for 3 months in that state and how he ended up. And when he woke up, we unplugged him. Now, I'm not necessarily suggesting this for this lady, but the outcome of her quality of life, it was rough before this incident. And now she may be paralyzed on one side because of this incident and so forth. Now, I find it's myself, I would love for her to get well. Please understand this. But there are certain steps that when your body gets so far down the line, the chances that, quote, recovery is actually, you just recovered the last incident. You're not going to recover from the whole thing. Now they put you into this and blah, 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 especially someone who's 80 pounds, frail, and in their mind they're frail because they just don't want to fight anymore. My other buddy Randy, who was in the hospital with several heart attacks, same hospital, we have the same doctor now, the same heart specialist. He's a fighter. He's a Marine. And he's like, no, if I'm going to wake up, I'm getting out of this bed. Not the same type of constitution for this lady. And I mean the best, but I'm in a quandary in that having had a float out there in the netherworld kind of thingy and whatever, and it's like, does this person really want to come back here? I mean, honestly, because I was like asking Granny, come on, Granny, is this my ticket home? Nah, you got to go back, Hawkeye. Okay, but this person doesn't have any reason to really come back. There's no, she doesn't do anything but sit and watch a little TV and complain because everything is a complaint. And well, why shouldn't you do this? And how come you didn't do that? And how come blah, 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 blah. And just like, and I think that's what sent her into her last little tizzy. That's my personal opinion. But someone who's already in a frail state doesn't need a lot to trigger an event with their heart. So, yes, this talking about these people are absolutely uh, relevant to ascension versus transition. I think some of these folks have already made the transition to ascension. They, I hope I hear from my friends, but I think they've already crossed over. And so they were in the process of the transition with seeing things and having um, medicine issues like me, um, seeing things out of the corner of their eye and wondering, you know, am I crazy? What's going on? Or whatever. Let me see. Hey, Mark. Yo ho, a pirate's life for me. Yep. Bob keeps changing my words around tonight. He's playful today. Yeah. He's been aggravating times though. Hey, Chloe, did I say hi? Yeah, Barry too. But I want to say that in and of myself, that I want to do better. You know, where some of these folks have been through so much, Back in the hospital again, with all them wires and tubes, and I still got, stuff on my arms and from my visit there, and all of the above. and, and I'm still coughing up white mucus. So, but anyway, we are all in a definite transition. All right. Every single one of us on this planet is in a transition. All right. Whether it be from the cosmic energy, whether it be for me, I'm transitioning from having a heart attack to learning how to take my meds, how to make sure that I keep my blood pressure in check. I mean, so I'm in a transition to try to understand my heart condition, right? And to deal with all of the above. And so, quite frankly, yes, I'm probably going to need help from some friends or whatever because it's just all freaking new. So, in listening to some folks the last couple of days, they're trying to explain like the other side and stuff, and we're going to prepare for this. And I'm thinking to myself, all the years that I have been trying to walk the good red road, all these years that I have spent with mushrooms and this and that, all the years that I have tried to put myself in that spiritual mode where I could be between life and death thingy, whatever, I never got close. Now I've had some really interesting experiences, but when you have a near death experience yourself and you go, wait a minute, I thought I had prepared for this. Nope, nothing. So, with all the things that I have read up to this point, there are some things that Casey has said over the years. I can't quote now, but I remember them like soul contracts and this and that and the other thing. And because I read Casey a long time ago, and I think it's necessary for me to reread Casey now. But sort of like to spark my memory, but also to compare it with my near death experience to some other folks that I talked about. Someone I spoke to just yesterday, we discussed it. And somebody I spoke with a couple of days ago, we discussed an NDE. Hers, mine, and ours, theirs kind of thing. And so, but nothing that you can feel, think of, or whatever in this 3D reality comes close to what it actually is. So, my point also with the NDEs, and I'm using this because if you think you're going to transition into the fourth dimension, okay, everybody's talking about it. Can't hear a word I'm saying. Oh, there's something in my mind. Anyway, there goes another song. All right. But here's the thing, people are trying to relate to what the fourth dimension could possibly might be like, feel like, but they're still having trouble with the third dimension. They still haven't really accepted all the parameters of 3D. So now, in their infinite wisdom, and sometimes I think it's just plumb stupidity, because how can you describe something? Well, somebody else said, and the teachings are okay, but are you sure these people knew what they were talking about? Because having had two near death experiences now myself, actually a couple of them when I was being operated on years ago with my neck and so forth, But those were just out of body experiences. Uh, but they had my pulse rate and everything so close. When they take you under and put you under, you're just above death. So a near death experience is really not much of a stretch. Um, it isn't, because it wasn't that you died. But now this heart attack issue, it wasn't. It didn't come about due to them fooling with my meds. I did this one all on my own, right? A la natural, if you will. So, but the comparison of astral projecting while during an operation and like being dead, uh, totally different. So, in my experience of astral projection, with years of different things, and I've talked about this before, nothing compares to what happened 10 days, well, almost 2 weeks ago now to me, officially. Um, and so, listening to folks try to describe 4D and 5D, I just busted out laughing and went, "You're kidding. Honestly, you're kidding." That's how you're trying to explain like the sensation or the feeling or what it's going to be like. Oh, please. Oh, please. Oh, please. Y'all ain't going to know shit till you get there. But, sorry, until you experience it, you're not going to know. Well, it's going to be like what it feels like when you get there. But it's going to be like, shut up. It's going to be like what it is. And for each person's personality, their own wavelength, their own frequency, their own everything, yours ain't going to be like mine. It may be similar, but yours ain't going to be like mine. And mine ain't going to be like yours. We might as well just get that in our heads right now. And I'm talking about the transition. But for every person who ascends, their death, how they move, what their life is like that got them into their ascension mode so that when they passed away, but this idea that somehow somebody knows what it's going to be like. Oh, please stop it. Please stop trying to project what it might be. Well, it's going to be, no, it ain't. It's going to be like, nah, because folks was reading off a list and I was like, no, 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 was no, uh, no, no, no. Well, so things that are on the list of people who are going to ascend and transition into the fourth and fifth, I'm sorry, nothing which they described came close to what the transition I made 2 weeks ago, as opposed to the other transition I made as someone who is astral projected into these things. Very similar, but not. So the transition is something we can control ourselves, okay? Meaning you can study, you can learn to meditate, you can learn to get closer to nature. All of these things are very valid, okay, to help us in our transitioning of our realities, our transitioning of our mindset, our transitioning of a different way of thinking. Because what is this fourth dimensional, some kind of bullshit anyway? What is this trigger? What is it supposed to do to us? It's supposed to make us feel like real human beings. like we will have compassion towards one another. Oh my God. That we will actually care for one another. Oh my God. Instead of being selfish all the time, we'll want to help each other. Oh my God. Well, we can do that now. You know, why do we have to wait for some kind of, astrological something or other, right? Now, I've been waiting on this thing for years, okay? So I'm like, come on, guys. You said it was coming. Now, if it ain't coming, then, right, I'm having my dessert. I always stick my fruit cocktail in the refrigerator to get cold first. Sometimes the freezer, a little ice on it, and vanilla ice cream with fruit cocktail. Anyway, and fruit cocktail makes a nice wine too. But anyway, I don't know how to go. But so, can we prepare ourselves for the transition? The answer is yeah. There's a lot we can do to prepare our current minds, our state of minds. That hey, y'all, changes are coming. And if it's supposed to affect us all in a positive way. Something flashy red right there, just some strange goings on in between parallel realities or something. It's strange, but anyway. So, Saturnian Sun, how are you? Hate to feel this way, but my co-worker had been called all day, and each time I've been on the line, would rather be here, but she needs me. But okay, Chloe. She shows up. Yeah. So there are folks who I thought had caught on to the Ascension transition thing a while back, because I've noticed there's been a drop in the word in the usage of the word ascension, but the word transition has just like not been there. It just hadn't been there. Who are you telling, Hawkeye? These folks are tripping. Chloe, become well at finding a good exit strategy. She'll find something. That reminds me, I got to go do this, and it's been great talking to you. Ding. Chloe, be a man about it. I'm sorry. Uh, yeah, I'm still dealing with some of this stuff here. They be tripping, huh, Delaney? Yeah, I be tripping too. But the idea, though, that there are folks that in this reality are trying to explain stuff. I mean, it's just like, okay, for example, there's a certain cave that I've been into here in South Georgia 11 times in my early career. I've taken folks down into this cave, and we've explored it in areas and stuff. And now the Florida State University, they've got some official cave diver folks, and they've been mapping the place and taking pictures of it. And yep, it's been there. Now, I've tried to explain this cavern, this cave to folks over the years, and they'd never really been in any kind of cave before, any kind of cave system. Did you ever take a cave tour? No. Then I'm going to try to explain something to you that you have zero reference to. All right. So people who are going to go into the fourth dimension have zero reference to what it actually is. Why? Because there is no frame of reference. Have you ever been in a dark closet? Have you ever been in a closet, shut the door? Yeah, in the daytime. Yeah. It's dark, right? Yeah, the cave doesn't even come close. You can hold your hand up to your face and you can't see zero unless there's a light. Your light goes out, you better hope somebody come and finds your butt. So how do you explain pitch dark? Well, you can kind of sort of you can simulate it, but when you go down in that cave and turn your light off for a second, the darkness goes boom and hits you. And you go, "Oh, I have never experienced the depth of the darkness before." No, it was just dark and you could get to a light easy or something. Pull the curtain back, open a door. And when you're 100 feet below the surface in a dark, damp cave and you turn off the light and everybody's quiet and all you can hear is the dripping of the water from the ceilings. And the darkness starts to eat at you. It gets weird. You want to turn that light on. And there are people in the group, and it was like, how long can we wait before the impulse is so strong that one of us has got to turn their flashlight on? Can Let's go for 5 minutes. Everybody's like, oh yeah, we can do 5 minutes. At the end of 30 seconds, people are scrambling, especially those that have never been in a cave like that before, have never experienced the true darkness. And so at the end of a minute, folks are going, oh my God, I can't stand it. And flip on a light, they check their watch and go, it's only been 60 seconds. Yeah. That's all I could hold out for. Yeah. Then they want to try it again. So then they get to a minute and a half. And but 2 minutes to wait 2 minutes without turning on the light. Here, everybody just rest your flashlights. Everybody in a comfortable spot and just hold still for 2 minutes. And before 2 minutes is up, there's a flashlight. Whoever it is can't stand the darkness. Close your eyes and pretend. Folks are just bugged out by the darkness. Now, what's that got to do with fourth dimension or something like that? Because unless you experience this total darkness and the kind of sort of fear that it brings with it, and the type of, oh my God, I can't believe that the darkness is actually pulsating, and people go, I've never experienced this before. Oh, okay, there, young friend. So you've never been in a cave before? Nope. You've never had to shinny down a rope to get in someplace? Nope. Okay, well that's different. Have you ever been in total darkness? Have you ever? No. The answer is no. So to try to explain something like that to someone, what the experience of being in a cave is like. Now there are other caves that are similar, and but these are ones that are not open to the public. These are holes in the ground where you got to know what you're doing to get in and out. So it ain't a 3 hour tour. But so how do you explain this? So I'm thinking the darkness of the cave, the dripping, the sounds, the smell, the humidity, and depending on where you're sitting, there's a breeze, and you're hundreds of feet, not just down, but into the cave, and you can feel a breeze. What? It's true, depending on where you're sitting. The caves breathe. So, have you ever experienced? No, Dave, Hawkeye, nope, never experienced that. Well, how do I explain it to you then? How do you really get the feeling unless you go in that cave, or at least a similar cave, or something to kind of get what it might feel like? So, those folks who are trying to describe fourth dimensional stuff, 99% possibility they who are trying to explain it have never been there, have never experienced it. They're relying on others of stories to relate other stories to other people, right? It's not their story. It's they're relating someone else's experience if it's true. And some of the stuff now that I'm listening to, I'm like, no, I'm sorry, but y'all believe this, that, uh, no. And this, that, actually, no, because then you're going to mean shit when you get there. That's the biggest point. But some of these things that are, quote, on lists and in books and people are starting to bring back out again, and having my own experience and dangling with death and seeing stuff. And now that I'm back, I go, y'all are just you're wasting your time with that right there because you're studying something that is related by you don't know who, and they're trying to relate something to you that you have no fixed point of reference. That's my biggest issue with this fourth dimensional stuff. 3D is 3D, and we can explain, we can discuss it. Fourth D is like blind people, and if you've never tried the experiments and the experience that I had discussed in videos a long time back, learn to walk around your house in the dark with your eyes closed. I don't mean just in the dark, I mean with your eyes closed. I mean, learn how to use third eye. Learn how to use that extension of something that's already a part of you, which is beyond third dimension. You're reaching into the fourth dimension from here. But folks who don't try it, they've never experienced it, and they look at you and go, but, because they have no point of reference. So there are folks trying to explain things, and God love them, I do, but they ain't got a clue. And the clues that they think they have, no, when you get to that other side and you ascend in that other place, the things that are listed in a bunch of places aren't worth a dime. Well, they're not worth anything. They're not worth repeating. It's so not worth it. So you say, well, what do you do? Well, it's natural. It's a la natural. If you're trying to force yourself into believing what the fourth dimension's like, and you don't know what it's like, I'm going to go back to the cave thing. If you've never experienced anything, even on the fringes of it, like you've never astral projected, you've never had an operation where you can see things in the operating room, uh, a sort of near death experience. If you've never had any type of hallucinogens or anything, you're not going to understand what certain things, how this elation makes you feel. And there are certain references you just ain't going to have. I'm sorry, but what does, can you describe a jelly filled donut to someone who's never had one? Now, I would love to have a jelly filled donut. Trust me, cherry flavor, especially, or raspberry on the inside. So you say it's this donut. All right, well, donuts are supposed to be round with a hole in it, right? So here's this donut, and now you're trying to describe something that nobody has ever seen pastries before. Well, it is like this cake. Well, what's a cake? Hey, Richard, what's it? It's a pastry. Okay, what's a pastry? Now you think I'm being, persnickety about this, but people are trying to describe the fourth dimension and stuff like that in a way that they've never seen one. They've never seen a pastry. Well, you take this pastry and then you take this thing and you put jelly in it and you squish it into the insides until it just fills up with jelly. What's jelly? Because you're trying to explain a jelly donut to someone who doesn't have a clue. Not in a mean way, but I mean, so And a jelly donut, that might be a little like, all right, really, as far as an example. But the idea, though, that it, the idea of what it's like to be in a cave and then trying to explain it to someone who's never experienced it. That's how I look at this with the fourth dimensional thing, and we're gonna ascend, and we're gonna do, how about we just climb in the cave? How about we experience what it is to be in the cave, and what that means to not to live there or that it's horrible, just experience it, because so many people have not had that experience. So, all right, fourth dimension, here we come, right? We're all going to know what it feels like. We're all going to have the similar experience. Everything's going to be hunky dory and blah de blah de blah. And none of that bullshit is true, because it's going to require each person's going to have their own personal whatever it means. Similar, absolutely. Now, if this thing happens on October the 2nd or 3rd, here, let me have some coffee. We'll see. But I think we have been, I want to do another video, and I'm going to call it Poking the Bear, or to not poke the bear. But it's about, there are things in our lives where if the bear, we're going along in the world and we know there are bears out there, and if we poke them, they'll swat at us or maybe even eat us. Or if we just kind of go along with the bears and don't bother them, then we can coexist in ways. But anyway, but in this idea of coexistence, hey, Hawkeye, um, you've heard Ford. Uh, hey, Mark, you flew the other night. I bet you that was cool. I've heard it's 4D this time. All good souls are curious. Learning about women. And those folks are tripping. Hey, Delaney. Astral. I got you. I'm with you. But anyway, I wanted to catch up with y'all. So my astral projections and flights and stuff are nowhere near to what the near death experience was 2 weeks ago. Now, no comparison. Nowhere near like it. Nowhere near nothing, except that I knew I wasn't in my body. And one of the main differences in dangling with death, it just is easier to say, and I understand what it means, right, guys, gals. That normally, if I'm astral projecting, I know my body is somewhere down yonder or over there or somewhere, right? In this last experience, floating in the white, I knew, because I've astral projected before. I think my body's somewhere, but I didn't have people like my granny there and the angels and stuff. Brian was there in our conversations, and so I'm like not afraid because I have astral projected before, and I'm hoping my body is somewhere doing its thing. I could not feel it like I've been able to in the past, like when I was doing the radio station experiments with Sheila. I could tell that my body was back at the house while my spirit was projecting at this point. Not so this time. So, are there differences? Yeah. So, the fact that I've had other experiences did not prepare me for what it felt like in this last NDE. Only in the fact that I was floating and that hopefully my body was someplace. That's all. Any other reality or realization or anything that was like similar, nah, that was it. The fact that I was out of body experience and like I said, the body was someplace else. That was the only thing that was like the same. So if I was going to try to relate what this felt like, maybe this was like lower 3D or fourth D, or I'm I'm having a pre-ascension something, right? But because I have not ascended before in this lifetime in this 3D, I can't associate with it. Well, it was like this. Yeah, but because I've got no 4D reference at this point, I have nothing to compare it to in this 3D world or in wherever I was in with the dangling with that thing. So it's like, so now what? Well, so now what? My reality is not flipped upside down. It's just the whole thing is flipping, morphed into something else. I'm still trying to figure it out. But this idea that there are folks who are like, well, there's this outline of stuff, and I couldn't identify with none of it as far as my feelings and experience and everything. So I'm scratching my head going, how are people going to understand this when apparently I've just had a very similar experience with some other friends of mine? Some of them haven't come back. They took that dirt nap and stayed. Interesting, we all had similar incidents around the same time. I'm hoping my dear friend Tommy's still around. I'm hoping my two Randalls are still around. I'm hoping, my good friend Charles is still around. But we all in this old category and we've all had issues. I don't know for certain. I will find out. But in the meantime, though, those people trying to explain these other dimensions and how we're going to ascend or transform or whatever their modus operandi is, I have to say politely and with the utmost of respect, but y'all ain't got a clue. You really don't. And so if you keep trying to learn what is false, if you continue to try to learn the false narrative of what other people are trying to explain that it is, you're going to miss the point. It's just going to go right by you because you've got all these preconceptions that, in my humble opinion, are just, to use the word wrong, is wrong. It's just, it ain't right. Okay. Well, it's going to feel like this. Not necessarily. Well, it's going to be, no. And it's going to be, it may be like that. Maybe. Maybe. But with folks that I've talked to who have had real near death experiences, our experiences don't explain none of this stuff. None of what's on that list right there makes a bit of sense to us. And we've experienced it. And so, but had I not come back from this one, I'd have took a dirt nap for real and I will have ascended, right? By all, because I'm dead. So My transition was going into the hospital with a heart attack, and that provoked my ascension process. Okay. But I don't want to go yet. I can see where I need to hang back here and kind of help people muddle through, because if these folks are so hell bent to learn, this is what ascension, this is what the fourth is, this is what it is. I gotta say, nah, it could be, but all the other people I've talked to and so forth, that ain't it. I'm sorry, I love you, but y'all are studying stuff that I just think is false. Somebody else's experience. They're trying to get you to believe this, and somehow you want to believe that you're going to feel that fourth dimensional shift, and this is how it's going to feel to you. And I, quite frankly, it's going to feel what it feels to you at the time. However you try to describe it, however you try to push your thoughts as to how it's going to be, you're going to be surprised. Why? Because it ain't going to be like that. You have never experienced a touch of what it's like to be 200 or 300 feet underground, and what it means to be in total darkness, and to experience a cave. I'm sorry, you've never been there, you've never tried, whatever, that it's okay. But I can't describe it to you because you have no point of reference. So, folks who are talking about fourth and fifth and all this other stuff, quit listening, because it's clouding your own judgment. You want to find out what fourth dimensional is or whatever? Close your eyes and meditate. Find some place that is pitch black and experience these things: the total darkness, the total silence, the total something, and you will get a glimpse. But all this other stuff, I'm I'm sorry, but dear people, stop wasting your time and listening to some of these folks, will you? Hey, Diane, Mark, let's see, got to go back up here. I know that hey, Robert, how are you? You're going to fall asleep to this? I have Captain Shackleton written on my whiteboard. Be cheerful through the tough. Oh, yeah, them guys that did that, oh my God. What is, oh, dude, I had such flying, hey, Michelle. I had a flying dream within the last 24 hours too, and it was odd as hell. I mean, it was like you could just put your arm out, and we were at some, we were in the mountains. I'm assuming we were at some heights, 1,000 or 2,000 feet up from the ground, out up from the valley floor kind of thing. And there were people who were just putting their hand up and catch, literally just catching the wind, and off they'd go. I was like, what the hell? And they didn't seem to have any kind of special equipment on. They were just literally riding the drafts, just arms and legs and whatever. Now they might have had one of them little jumpy suits on, but I didn't see it, that make them look like a flying squirrel. But they just they just stick their arm out and literally catch the wind. And this one was like sitting by me and said, "Catch you later," and they was gone. It was a strange dream, interesting but strange. I want so much to astral travel and fly. Robert, maybe that's a show we can do separate from our weekly stuff. And I've described it before for other folks. I don't know if anyone has ever taken my advice, but it's how I learned how to do it. And so during our show of astral projection, I will tell you how I learned, how other people have learned, and then it'll be step by steps and instructions. So it'll be up to you to try it and that particular way or whatever. But anyway, so yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my God, it's been an hour. Oh, and it's 12:23. So I have this, because I wanted to do a 20 with y'all. They're really simple techniques. And my friend Sheila, back in my radio days when we did experiments, found it easy to follow. And, I've gotten very similar things out of paperback back when I learned back in the late 60s and early 70s. But now I had out of body experiences and astral projection before I ever knew what astral projection was. So I had a magic pillow. I used to fly around in my dreams and then come to find out, that later on that I'd actually had been flying around in my dreams. It wasn't a dream that I was flying, you know. So it's like, that was weird. And there were also stories that as a child, I could describe things and places. And my siblings and friends, when we were camping, I'd tell these stories. They go, "You're telling these things in such detail as if you'd been there." And I'm like, you know, I do feel like I've been there or experienced it or something. And then, that was like 8, 9, 10, maybe 11-year-old kid. And you're telling a story and they go, that is so vivid. And then later on, I'd go, I mean, we're talking like 1963 or 1964. And I'm having these experiences of stories that I'm telling people of details I should not have. Well, the street was like this and it was like that. I'm a 10-year-old kid describing this story to around a candle in late night in a fort that's down in the edge of the woods. I mean, little kids growing up, we had forts and we had candles and we camped out in them. And so I was the resident storyteller even then. But I a couple I can remember their faces with this candle lit, and we had this fort, and we had a little bit of dirt on top, and underground, and the look on their faces, and they turn to me and they go, "How come you know so much about this?" And because I was like describing clothes and how they were walking and the footprints in the sand or whatever, or how it smelled. And I mean, I was giving details, and all these little kids are like, "What's wrong with you, Dave?" you know how come it ain't just a story about a bunch of people, blah blah blah, they showed up and went for a walk. Nah, I'm describing the air and the thing and the this and the. So I have often wondered, uh, from their remarks and the detail of some of those stories. I can't remember them. I remember that it seemed like there were a lot of them that included going somewhere and finding uh, a manhole cover with like a submarine thingy that opens up and seals, and that we would crawl down into the ground. And there were tunnels, and there were places, and there were stuff, and they'd go, where is this? I don't know. There we all walked down in the woods, and then from there we opened up this thing like a submarine and crawled down in it, and and adventures were there, and this was there, and that was there, and details that I'm like, when I think about it even now, I go, where was I? I mean, the detail of the walls and the sounds, and I'm 9, 10, 11 years old. Where did I get that much detail at that age? There weren't any movies that would ever. I watched a movie this afternoon, and I thought, oh look, um, I think I rewatched, not with much intent, but the Chronicles of Riddick, because I was having sketchy something about it. And anyway, so I'm like, oh, I remember that part. Yeah. And then there was something else that popped up, and I was like, I don't remember that. And wow, what's that got to do with this? And I don't remember that. So trying to prompt my memory in a movie I saw years ago that, okay. So the part that got me was it was the sun coming up, and these lava things, and the heat of the sun was so hot that it, Steve, how are you? I got my thingy, and I love you, my brother. I've got my thingy, and I've been checking my BP, and I feel much safer now, simply because I can read my own blood pressure. I got it yesterday, by the way. Um, astral. Richard says I astral traveled once. It was amazing, but it only happened once about a couple of years ago. I shifted into a shape of an octopus, and I felt no threat or fear, but happy and joy. Okay. Um, I know there are folks that like want to turn into things or stuff, or experience. Why don't you just experience being in that spirit body versus try to? I'm not Richard. I never things. I'm not trying to say that you tried to be an octopus. That's not what I mean. But being an octopus, starfish, those are highly intelligent uh, beings. That's a curiosity. But for folks in general, um, the basic premise that I'll tell you, all right, and I'll go into more detail when we do it, Robert, but you sit quietly in one room, and you close your eyes and meditate. It's got to be quiet. Can't be anybody running around back and forth. Now, you can practice it once you've learned the basics. And if somebody else is in the house or whatever, you can still practice it. It's more difficult, but you can do it. And it's basically, you get up from your chair or bed in the other room, and you go into the kitchen, or you go into the living room, and you look at everything in that room, and you take it in. In a minute's time, you make a sweep, and you go, oh, wow, I need to get that cobweb over there out of that corner. And you just sweep the room, and then you go back in, and you go back and sit down in the other room, close your eyes, and you imagine the detail. You don't study the room. Nope. You scan it, but you are very intent. I've seen my living room a dozen times. But if you just scan like you're one of them robots, you'll scan something anyway. So when you get back, you focus on that. Why? Because it caught your eye while you were standing in the room physically. Now you go back to the room, walking it in your mind's eye. Now, it takes a couple of times, but that's the ticket. You practice until you actually will lift yourself up out of your body, and your spirit will walk into the next room, and you'll look around and you go, holy crap. And then you'll realize you just stepped out yourself. What stops people a lot of times is that you have to understand. This took a lot of problems I had at one particular point in my life where I was afraid I'd quit breathing. So as I was could feel myself lift out of my body, I go, but what about breathing? And plop right back in. You have to understand. So for some people, I've told them you have to do a full body uh, paralyzation. You paralyze yourself basically. You put yourself to sleep. You start at your toes, right leg, left leg, right leg, doesn't matter. Or you start with both legs at the same time, if you can handle that, and your toes tingle. And as your toes tingle, you slowly work that tingle all the way up your legs. And the tingle is that's when your leg falls asleep, that's what you're going to do. You're going to make yourself feel like your leg fell asleep all over your body. And when you get to that and you can feel yourself, now your body's asleep. But here's the thing. So, what about the breathing thing? Well, when I get off in my spirit body, it's still going to be breathing on its own. It's got its own cadence, it's got its own sleep pattern, and you need not worry about it. So, for a long time, I could not get past the breathing thing and leaving the body. I just gave up. When I gave up, it was easy as all of a sudden because I kept focusing on it. And so if you keep focusing on something that's keeping you from doing it, you got to let it go. I, I mean, I went through several years of this in great trauma and pain that I couldn't get over the I can't breathe thing. When absolutely you can breathe. That you're still alive today, ain't you? Yeah. Did you sleep last night? Yeah. Did you quit breathing in the middle of the night? I don't know. Don't make me think about it. Um, oh my God, what if I quit breathing last night? So you have to learn to unlearn because when you become aware of your heart rate and your breathing and you're slowing it down, which was exercises I did many years ago. And one of the things that has freaked me out about my current, oh, by the way, Steve and everybody, when I did my BP earlier, it was 121 over 70. And my heart rate was like 55, 60, my pulse, which to me had been like, it hadn't been that low since I was in high school, way back when I used to control my breathing, when I used to control myself in my meditations. Now it just seems it just comes natural. I don't have to go into some special breathing. I just kind of sort of assume the position just as it is. But anyway, so with the astral projection and other stuff, you just have to it's natural. It is a dream state. It is part of us. But now, for those folks who have trouble relaxing, it's good to focus on your breathing, but also putting your toes and all of yourself asleep. By it's sort of like this tingly thingy. You just and when ooh, I can feel my legs are tingling, and ooh, it's got to my stomach, and ooh, my arms are starting to tingle, and you're going to sleep, and you're perfectly fine with it. You've accepted. While I'm and I've learned to do a sort of prayer While I'm in my astral state, I am being protected. My breathing will remain normal, and all my bodily functions will remain normal. And later on, I added, and wake me up if I gotta pee. Wake me up if I gotta pee. Because I don't want to pee the bed, right? Because I'm off somewhere, and whatever the reason, I don't want to pee the bed. So I added something to my little mantra of stuff. But one of the big things is um, during the experience of it, you have to stay relaxed because there have been times when I'm like out walking around and maybe headed for a destination or something, and that be like exciting. And go, oh wow, I wonder what it's going to feel like, and start to have a 3D body experience. Like you catch yourself like wow, and so there is an excitement, but it takes you. Sometimes it makes you weave or wave or in and out of that astral body to where you're like be back to the house kind of thing going crap man I was almost there and some bitch I close my eyes and I gotta go and do this over again, right? And it but take be lighthearted about it. There are some folks, and I used to be one of them, okay, so I can talk on this point, just be so god dog serious about it, and then you can't quite get there, and then just son of a bitch, rah, 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 yeah, and calm down and go, well, oh wow, that was interesting. I missed. Okay, let me try this again, right? So there is the side that is so serious. Uh, I changed into 5 or 6 different things at random. I also remember a dark void and the muffled sounds and real calm. Interesting, Richard. A healthy heart rate, what was acceptable when I was a kid and I'm running track and stuff, you know, 70, 75 was an elevated heart rate. And 80 beats per minute was like an older person, we said we're married. I stopped breathing. She yelled my name. I woke up. Said, yeah, I had some strange experiences long time ago uh, in this lifetime, uh, of waking up and not I didn't feel like I was breathing. A healthy heart rate, for you know, when I was in the hotel Colquitt Regional, they were really happy with 90. I wasn't. I was like 90. That's way too high. No, no, no. I remember back, in my meditation days where I could get it down to 55, 60, like, you know. And as a runner, you want to try to regulate your heart rate and so that you can pace yourself. So I would say if you were in the 70, 80 range, that's a good range. A little lower means that your heart isn't pumping as fast, and that I was sitting still and pumping 90, right, which is like you know 25 or 30 points too much too high, especially from a sitting position. If I'd been running and my pulse was 90, then I'd go, oh yeah, that sounds about right. And let me calm that heart rate down and whoo, deep breath and whoo, another deep breath and whoo, let's bring that pulse rate right on down. So, but anyway, uh, I know I'm crazy, but a lot of folks I've known with, Within 3 or 4 deep breaths, can feel the heart rate slow down. But here in my older life, it just seems that because I don't feel upset or whatever, I feel calm all the time. Before I knew my heart was bad. And so it's like, that's sort of what I'm trying to get used to. Now it's like, things aren't the same. It's still not the same. Um, just how I'm looking at stuff, just the whole 9 yards. Reality is really took a spin. I'm here for the long haul, however long that might be. Um, I'm, I'm studying on it. I'm remembering things of my last 65 years because I don't remember the first five much. But the last 65 years of learning, training, being aware of things, dreams that I had as a child that have coming back and go, hey, Dave, do you remember that dream back when you was about 6 or 7 years old ish time frame? We were still in Ohio before we moved down to Florida. We were in the upstairs at the top of the stairs to the left kind of thing. I mean, I remember where the bedroom was. I remember looking out the bedroom that uh, we had Christmas in Dayton and loaded up the truck and moved to Florida. You know, um, almost like that Elvis movie way back when they took old Grandpa and his old thingy and they drove down to anyway. Wasn't quite as glamorous, but it was similar. Boy, she woke you up again. Shame on you, Steve. Yeah, there were when I was married, there were I would just say there were wife times, you know, versus women times. Then there was the crazy women wife times where you'd wake up and go, "Who is that monster over there?" You still stop breathing. I did that years ago, and um, I don't think I do it anymore. Maybe I do, because I've had sleep studies done and everything. You all right, Michelle? How's the background noise? Um, but so for this ascension transition thing, um, it took me a week to smoke a pack of cigarettes. So I've just opened this other pack. Cool beans, Michelle. I've let two of them turn into ashes in the ashtray, and went to go pick them up and said, "Nah, I'm just gonna leave them there." Now, since I've been on here for the last hour and 23 minutes, not one of you has mentioned my clean shaven look. Not one of yous now. I'm just like, oh, damn, he shaved. Or, wow, you sure look different with no whiskers. None yet. It's a social experiment, but none yous has made a remark. Okay. Are you afraid to? I'm just curious. Yeah, but you didn't say nothing. And I'm not picking on you, Michelle. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. My social experiment with this was just, I wonder how long it'll take for somebody to say something, not to notice, but to say something, to actually type it in. Oh my God, you shaved, or something, right? Whatever. Just, but whether you not you've noticed, I know, but uh, So, but up to this point, because I am juggling house, I know I understand that you have excuses, yeah. And you kind of sort of just pop back on too. So, but and I'm not picking on anybody. I swear, it was just when I started it, I was like, I had to shave because of the mask and the itches and stuff like that. And I thought to myself, let's see how long it takes. If anybody says anything in the chat, just because, you know, what I'm calling my social experiment of just not saying anything or trying to bring attention to my beard lessness. Um, and I kept it to the very beginning of this. But anyway, just a social experiment, just to say, son of a bitch, he looks like hell. Did you just flush your face down the toilet and wash it off? You know, because you look like hell, no. Hawkeye's clean cut cologne. Literally, when I got it done, I looked in the mirror and went, number one, was the last time that I like shaved all the way down, you know? And when I was in theater, I used to shave all the time because there were different characters. And so, in thinking about different characters the other night, and I was like, I'd like to do some character portrayals. And some of them would be women in something that I remember from way back. And for those of you who remember Ernest, the Ernest movies, Ernest, the gentleman that Jim Barney, who played Ernest, the wit, in my humble opinion, now his movies were silly and stupid, but some of the characters that he did were, to me, I still want to laugh my butt off. It was like when um, I'll think of his name in a minute, when he did Ma Frigate. I mean, even Red Skelton, when he used to do all the different characters, Clem Cadiddlehopper, and all these other characters, right? And so within me are these characters, like, because I watched the Red Skelton show and I watched all these people in these different characters when I was growing up. And then when I got into theater, I became, quote, the, uh, the the character guide. There's two pages on page 48, and this guy walks into a bar, and he's got a couple of lines, and that's it, and you stand in the corner until the end of the scene. So I was a bit part actor for a long time. Didn't care as long I was there because even the bit part. So one particular show, which is I'm the telephone repair guy, and it's in a oh crap, they did a movie about it, a play, a Neil Simon play. I can't remember the name of it at the moment. So beginning of the play, I'm the supposed to just hook up some wires and have this little short discussion with the lady of the house. And I think it might have been in one of the movies, Tony Curtis was the guy, and it might have been uh, anyway, was the girl. So I got this tool belt on. We'd have this piece of wire so she could walk around the stage and be hooked up. And as I'm almost off stage, she moves and the wire catches in my tool belt, and I literally ripped it off of the wall. Now I can't just walk out because now she's holding the end of the phone line like this. Now there are no more words. I'm out of words. She's out of words. I'm supposed to exit stage left, literally go back upstage and hang a left and leave. I can't now because she's holding the end of the phone cord. I can't just walk out, right? Because that wouldn't be real. Because then they go, well, I'll get somebody else to fix it. Nah, I had to walk back over there, and I had ripped it. So I had to try to find screws and take the cover off. And, we had everything else prearranged, but now I ripped this thing from the set. Holy crap. And it's finally gotten everybody. They're sitting like a foot and a half away, the first row is. And so got to do something. So I just start making up stuff. And which, I'm really great at ad libbing, always have been. So the girl that has played, this is her first time like in anything on stage, right? And I've been playing bit parts and things, and just having a good time. And so I'm like, so blah 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 blah. And she is like literally terrified. She's shaking visibly because she doesn't know whether or not she's supposed to be ad libbing with me or not. And she's sitting on the steps there, which with paper all around because they're supposed to be cleaning up the apartment, waiting on her husband or fiance to come any moment, and he's standing off stage waiting for me to leave because he's not supposed to come on until after the phone man leaves. So I mean, and I'm working as fast as I can. And what seems like an hour is like maybe 4, but I had to get a screw and I had to put it in, I had to put the cover back on, and all this in real time. And and then but it was just like, oh my God, what do you do? Well, the play had just started. We weren't like 2 minutes into the play when I had to add about 5 minutes. So people are backstage laughing. There are people in the front stage going, "This ain't part of the play, is it?" Because it wasn't, you know. And sometimes you just have to make shit up, you know, was the basic, line of the day. So, but I've had a wonderful career with doing bit part acting. Literally, I've been in 85 different performances. I ain't trying to stretch it. That doesn't count any of my puppetry or none of my own personal stuff. Those are official plays that I was in on stage, okay, with billing and the whole 9 yards. And there's probably a couple of that I've left out because I just helped out one weekend. There was a play that a gentleman wrote, and there was a preacher involved. And the preacher came out after the demise of one of the main characters and gave this eulogy, soliloquy kind of thing. So, having not met anybody, and I had gotten a frantic call like on Friday night going, "We're going to lose our Reverend. Can you step in for us?" And I was like, "What is it?" "Here, I'm going to send you an email. Here's your dialogue. You can read it right off. You don't have to memorize it, but you know the drill, right?" And I said, "Okay, I'll fake it." So I'd read it. It was really funny, and showed up that Sunday for the matinee, and nobody knew me from Adam because I was from Thomasville, and this was in Cairo. So I show up just cold turkey, and it's time for my entrance, and out on stage I walk, and everybody's looking at me like, "Who the hell is this guy?" He wasn't in the play earlier, and blah blah blah. And we've come for the last show, and who is this guy? So I just show up. Now my portrayal of the character is so much different than the old guy that has played this character for the last 2 weeks every night, except this Sunday matinee. So I had just reading out the from the eulogy, which was like, "Now Mr. John," and I'd kind of stop and look around the room, and Mr. John, he was and there's in parenthesis, "Well, he was sort of a peculiar kind of fellow." Well, now we all know Mr. John, and the cast is laughing and the audience is laughing. I don't find out later on that the way that I was portraying the preacher was just like they couldn't believe that I had tickled him to death with just basically my portrayal of somebody I'd never met. It's a character in a play, but apparently the character that had been playing it was so straight laced and there was no whatever, and I just come bebop and folks was rolling in the aisles for this like 4 pages of this play, which ain't much, but so when I walked off, they were like, "Thank God we had you here. That was so entertaining." This was the cast. That was so entertaining, Dave. Oh my God, why couldn't you have been here for the whole show, kind of thing? I was like, "Well, y'all didn't ask me, but being able to fill in it at a moment's notice." And then we were doing the one play. I got to tell this one since and it was the two crazy ladies. It's Arsenic and Old Lace, I think, is the play. And it's two old ladies in a house, and their husbands are dead, and they've been taking in different people, and somehow these old men have just been disappearing. Well, the old ladies have been disappearing them and burying them in the basement. So, but anyway, there's a scene in there where the cousin, uh, he's or the no, I'm sorry, the nephew of one of the two old ladies. So he's like, Auntie this and Auntie that. Well, a good friend of mine down in Cairo, he's actually a doctor. He hates anything stuck in his mouth. So it called for that I had to shut him up and take his handkerchief out of his pocket and stuff it in his mouth. And so it worked it out. So it was a very short time. Well, now we come to like it's like Saturday night performance, and we've got one more. We've got the matinee the next day. So I'm playing this police chief, and I come in there. Actually, I'm playing the sergeant. So I come into the room, and I'm this Irish bloke, and I'm all dressed out, and I go, "So now, what do you tell me about this?" And so blah blah blah, and so where is the culprit here? The culprit, who is the gentleman I'm supposed to question in the play, is out back of the theater building, car with a couple of his cronies. Now I'm on stage waiting for him to show up because I've talked to the chief on the phone. Oh, Bigori, I've called him up, and chief, you want me to do what about him? Oh, now, so he's supposed to like come in the stairs, upstage and down the stairs and come in behind him, and that's where I meet him. So I'm on the phone and I'm looking around like, where is he? He's nowhere to be seen. So now I'm by myself on stage. I have said my lines to the chief I'm supposed to hang it up and our dialogue begins. Ain't nobody there. So good old ad lib Dave, I'm like, well, now by Gordy, where is he? I bet you there's somebody around here that's supposed to know what the hell's going on. And I can hear I could hear the staff and the folks backstage. Where's Eric? Where's Eric? Oh my God, he's missing. But where's Eric? And the audience is starting to go, who's Eric? Well, Eric Lehman, the actor and doctor, is supposed to be on stage with me. And so I'm making stuff up one side and down the other. I'm not talking 30 seconds. I'm not a minute. We have begun the minute and a half to 2 minutes, where I'm working on 3 minutes easy beyond my own dialogue. And I'm thinking, and I'm starting to make up stuff. If I ever catch him, I'm gonna wring his neck. And then so the people in the audience knew by now that Eric was not on the set. So finally, the moment came, and he comes. You can hear him running backstage, boom, 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 and up the stairs so he can come through the door and run down the stairs. And it's a comedy anyway, but now it's really comedy. So I go, oh, look, you're the one I've been looking for, right? And it's like he's sweating bullets. He's got a look on his face from one actor to another. I've just let my buddy Dave on stage for almost 5 minutes by himself with no dialogue. So we continue on with the play. So when it came time for him to be tied up in this chair, when it came time for them to, so I take his handkerchief out, and now Eric has terror in his eyes. Terror because I'm the one that sticks the thing in his mouth. And I'm the one that pulls it out because his hands are literally tied to the chair and he can't do it himself. And he's like, he's going to get me. And I was like, oh, yeah, I am. Yes, I am. So when it came time for the scene, I pulled out the handkerchief and I stuck it in his mouth. And then there was the lights went down and there was a break. And it was a short little quick set thing. And then the lights came back up. And so I took it out of his mouth and it was just like holding on to it. Didn't say anything in the dark, that I could hear him mumbling, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please. He was like praying to Jesus, oh, please, oh, please. And before the lights could come back up, I had stuck this handkerchief back in his mouth. So now his eyes are like this big. So now the dialogue is on my part. So there you go. You're gonna listen to my side of this story, and I'm gonna leave that handkerchief in your mouth. So he had left me standing on stage for 5 minutes by myself. So I decided that I'd go, well, let me take that handkerchief out. So I'd go to pull it out of his mouth and go, nah, I got this other part of the story I want to tell you. And I'd cram I'd crab it back in. Now at this point, I'm making shit up. And all he could do was like, oh no, how long is he going to let this go on? I go, well, that's another. So about 30 seconds, I'm like, well, and let me pull the handkerchief out of your mouth. And I go to pull it out, and it's about halfway, and I go, nah, I got this other thing. And so I got him back all right. Didn't hurt him, but he never forgot leaving me on stage like that again. Now, from a personal point of view, it's one of the most fun times I ever had. Just ad libbing, because there's nothing you can do. I had thought about walking off the stage and coming back on, but I figured that somebody, even if it was wrong, would make an entrance from the kitchen or something, or they would come in, but they finally got him and brought him back on stage. But yeah, I've had some great times with Ridgemont High kind of thing. But anyway, yeah, my dear friends, I miss them. I do, and I miss the theater. So, but anyway, what's that got to do with me shaving? Well, with me shaving, I wanted to do some of these characters that I've done in the past, kind of sort of like a Jim Varney. So I can sit here and put makeup on or a wig or something and do some of the characters or portions of some of these characters that I've done in the past, who to me were just absolutely hilarious. So because I'm not in theater anymore, the idea of becoming these characters and just having fun with them, has never left me. And maybe I could play this character. Yeah, well, you're too old. Well, maybe you could blah, 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 yeah, which is true. Some of these characters were young to middle aged people, and I'm way past that now. But I can still play it here. So, but anyway, um, there's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Hey, Joe, berate you? Oh, no. But, there are, you're blind to one I have, can't see out of the other. Yeah, Laurel and Hardy. Yeah, I did a show. Um, oh, I can't think the name of it. And it was all Western swing type music, not all swing, but Western. Um, I'm an old cowhand from the Rio Grande, and there were 3 and 4 parts harmony and harmonicas and guitar playing, and oh, it was great. But in the show, I played the Foley artist. I was the sound effects man. And it was during World War II on the BBC. And I've got lots of the props and stuff, but I never said a word during the entire show. And I'm trying to think, as much as I love him, I can't remember his name forever, but he was in silent movies a lot back in the day. And he did the Confederate, where he was on a steam locomotive going back and forth. And I can't remember the actor's name, for God's sakes. And, but so my actions, I emulated him. So how I walked, um, and my mannerisms, and people got it. And at the end of the show, when it came time for the curtain call, I made my curtain call, and when I came back up, I had a card written that said "Thank you." So for the whole production, I never uttered a sound, but I was the sound effects guy, and it was the most fun I've ever had in my life, and never said a word. But people said they were watching me, and I was like, "What do you mean?" And they said, "Well, everybody was singing and everything, but you were sitting against the back, and you were reacting to what was going on, and you were getting ready for the next setup, and we couldn't take your eyes off of you." And I said, "Yeah, but I didn't have any lines. Why were you watching me?" Oh, because I was like, so for myself, I proved that you don't have to say a word to be a good actor. You don't have to create great lines and orations and things to be effective as an actor, good or bad. But but the fact that people after the show were like, "Man, I watched you through the whole why me?" I mean, I don't know, because we didn't know what you was going to do next. And it was your facial expressions. And I'm wearing it too, but and I would be concerned one moment, and I'd look over there, and then I'd kind of mount the words along with the song. And the next thing is, it was like, we couldn't stop watching you. And I'm all the way to the back of the stage with all these other folks in front of me performing. You never know, I swear. Okay, somebody look up who was in the Confederate. I'm gonna do it. Silent movie, The Confederate. I can't stand that I can't remember his name. And a very famous silent movie actor. Nope, not Harold Lloyd in the Confederate. Buster Keaton. As soon as it started to come up, Buster Keaton. There's his picture. Wow, I was a young man in shade. Buster Keaton. But anyway, Laurel and Hardy, absolutely. Uh, for what they were, the Three Stooges were great. Their timing, the whole 9 yards, just great. Also, the Marx Brothers, Groucho Marx, and some of the remarks, oh, well, don't go off in a huff. off in a minute and a half. I mean, just crazy lines. And of course, Chico, who could play in the band, and then Harpo, who could play the harp and the piano. I mean, just I can't remember the movie, but oh my God, to watch these folks perform who've been long dead, and the timing that they had and the camaraderie they had, just amazing. So I missed being on stage just because it was fun to act with different people. I lost my good friend Jim to cancer. He passed away. My good friend uh, Ron, two Rons I lost. We lost. That used to do a lot of there were the three of us. We used to do a lot of comedy routines. We did a thing every Christmas time at the theater. It was the three bums or something like that, and uh, I've lost both of those friends. My good friend Ron Shanks, who would look like Santa Claus in his older age with his beard. I mean, he really looked like Santa Claus. And he was a Jewish man, a convert, but still a Jewish man. But, the fun that I've had on stage making people laugh and then traveling around with the puppets and so forth, helping make people laugh. In my old age, that is still in me. And I've realized this through this heart attack hurricane that there's some things I just haven't done, I've missed out on, and I need to fix it for whatever reason. Just for myself, I need to fix it. So, but anyway, so shaving so I could deal with the itching was like the biggest reason. But shaving so now that I can literally paint my face, and I've got wigs and different, all kinds of stuff, right, to portray these characters. So now it gives me the affordability of being able to say, okay, I can tie my hair back and put on a blonde wig and a little bit of mustache and a couple of earrings and dun da da da. We'll see what happens. I'm kind of looking forward to it, just as a just just to have fun as a character. But y'all see me kind of slip in and out of stuff all the time, you know. But anywho, Jerry Lewis, yeah, I did do one show that's called The Nerd, and my character was so flipping annoying because I talked sort of like this through the whole thing. I was modeling myself after after I think the jerk or the something, the bellhop or something like that. It was Jerry Lewis. And now this is way back, 30 something years. But yeah, I didn't copy him, but I emulated his noidy nasal. Uh, I rolled my socks down and my pants legs up, but it called for that. I mean, it even specified certain characteristics of this guy. And it immediately like, oh, it's sort of like Jerry Lewis in that movie there. And so I copied him, and uh, apparently did quite well because it was the first show that we did with Thomasville on stage where there were so many people that showed up that they asked for us to do an extra weekend. So we were like, oh, hell yeah, sure, because it was so much fun to play in this play to begin with. And so, yeah, it was great fun and a great play, The Nerd, by Shu, and he was killed in an accident an airplane accident, and they were going to make it into a movie, and he had a sequel, and if y'all had ever seen it, he would have been really famous, and so would the play. But anyway, as far as characters and stuff, I'm trying to get my puppets out of the old trailer up here east of me up the hill, but I got no place to put them down here yet. And since I have had this heart attack accident, I don't yet know where my stamina is. So I'm walking up and down the hill, sitting down, taking my blood pressure. Thank you, Steve. To see what it is. It was level. So taking a walk didn't do it or anything. So it's not that I'm scared. I just don't know. I just don't know my limits yet, and I'm damn sure don't want to go over my limits before I find out what they are. So. But anyway, in the meantime, it's almost been 2 hours. I know, Joe. I'm a character already, and I was doing stuff as a kid. For example, this time of year, you know, we'd go to the J.C. Penney and buy our school clothes because the only store that carried the clothes that Catholic schools wanted their kids to wear was only at J.C. Penney. So I would, be bored standing there trying to, not wanting to be there for school clothes because it was always boring. I would hide in between the rows behind the dummies. And so when somebody would walk by, I would say, "Oh, have a nice day, would you please?" And, "Oh, isn't it a beautiful thing?" And so people be walking by. Now, that's about the time that Alan Funt started um, Candid Camera. And so I was way ahead of the curve. You know, I would pop out of the clothes and somebody, "Who's in there?" But like, "I'm going to call the manager." And I go, "It's just me. I'm just, what are you doing, little boy, in there?" And mama come and snatch me by my ear. And, oh, I got in trouble so much just from doing stupid shit like that. But, she'd wander off. I wouldn't know where anybody was. And I'd slip in behind the mannequins. And this one I'd have a voice for, and I'd have a voice for that one. And I just ad libbing stuff. Just you know, hearing I can hear conversations in the universe. These two people, whatever's going on, yeah, but my old lady, that Bessie lady who didn't like me and my sister because we was adopted, and even though she was part of the adoption thing, I was showing off. I'm just having fun. I mean, you're trying to do. No, you don't get it. I'm not trying to be a nuisance. Maybe in a way I was trying to get attention, but not really. I just see that mannequin right there. I just want to stand behind it and pretend I'm the mannequin. That's what I'm in this for. It's not about if somebody come by. Now if somebody laughed or whatever, I knew there was something I was motivated ulteriorly. I wanted to get a laugh, right? But as far as getting attention from it, no, it was all about the interaction of the dummy and the person, not me. I was I was the guy behind the curtain, and was comfortable with it. I wasn't standing out front going, "Mammy, how I love you, my dear old mammy." No, I wasn't doing that. I was be in the clothes hiding, so you didn't see me. So, hey, Katniss, how you doing? Sorry, I'm gonna eat here. Bye. My fruit cocktail's getting warm. It's all right. So, but anyway, in my older life, I've got some characters and some skits. What I'm trying to work out the logistics. In other words, do if I was on stage, I'd say, okay, the stage is dark, and a light comes up center stage, and there's a chair or a stool or a nothing, and the person walks into it, or they're already on stage and the light comes up. So my brain is processing. So I know about the character, but how would I present the character to y'all? Would I come on and go, "This is a character portrayal," and like, turn off move the camera, blah blah blah, and then come back on, or I haven't quite figured that part out yet. So, oh, it'll be soon. Now that I'm shaved and clean cut, and now I'm gonna be, now I'm gonna go looking for wigs and my earrings and my, never mind. Fruit cocktail. But so anyway, hopefully for your entertainment and mine, I've got a speech that I wanted to give, but and now that I have shaved my mustache and my beard off, I wanted to give it as sort of as a Robert E. Lee kind of thing. But eh, other characters. Also, there's some readings that I wanted to do from Samuel Clemens, in other words, Mark Twain, and do some readings that some of the stuff that he wrote that was essays, short stories, and stuff like that, and just ruminations. Because there are things that he used to travel around, and that's how he made his money was on show boats and in towns, and that he would give these orations and collect and get money from it. Sometimes not. So, but Samuel Clemens was an interesting man, Mr. Mark Twain, and he loved his cigars. And there's a couple of stories that I remember that he wrote about how how much he loves his cigars versus how much he loved his wife. Meaning that his wife said, "Now, if you love me, you will make sure that the tickets for our outbound journey on the steamboat are ready, Mr. Twain." "Oh, yes, my dear, and make sure that the children are ready." So as soon as they leave the room, he decides that he's going to, before he does what his wife asked him, that he's going to slip down to the cigar shop and procure himself a couple of delightful things to smoke and partake with before securing their seats on the northbound paddle wheel steamer boat. And so he goes down the street and heads to the thing, and something happens, and this happens, and that happens. And then as he goes to see the porters, he got his cigars, mind you. But the story he relates as to what happens in the next hour before they can get on the steamboat is just to watch it like happen in real time. I can imagine it. I can imagine him, and the later he gets in his and he doesn't have it, and now to find out that he was supposed to have been there like a half an hour early, and oh man. So, and then his wife, and he's like, "Oh dear Lord, I think I would rather drown in the Mississippi as to put up with 1 minute with the missus," or something like that. It's like, it is absolutely, utterly hilarious. But you don't hear about some of these stories. So, find a couple of these, and whether or not I can actually seem to be, Samuel Clemens or not, at least be the portrayal of a Southern gentleman. who's, whose wife is literally going to skin him alive because he stopped for the cigars first. You love them cigars more than me, sir, as she chastised me in front of the whole boatload of passengers. My two daughters were so livid because their pappy had chosen cigars over them as well. I mean, it just on and on. Really great. And the thing is, it was, it's his true story. So here's this time, a piece of time from the life and times of Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, the gentleman who wrote, Huckleberry Finn, and maybe Huckleberry Hound too. We don't know about that. I'm kidding. But anyway, do you believe in the ascension to the fifth dimension? Not the way other folks do, CD. Aside from mother's wrath, men fear their wife's wrath. Oh God, we fear the fear of the wrath. Oh my God. Oh no. Oh, she's going to be wrathful. CD, I will go back to that because I'm still on the air and open for the discussion. Um, my biggest issue with this of an ascension, by the way, involves death. Okay, would love to hear you. Okay, ascension means you got to die. You ain't going to ascend to anything. You might ascend to a set of stairs, but the ascension process involves death. Okay, the transition is what we all go through into all different kinds of stages. But the ascension process into the fifth, it just depends on whether or not your spirit has been through enough to be able to ascend to the fifth dimension. And this last heart attack thing that I had a near death experience where I saw my grandmother, the band of angels, and our dear friend, Mr. Brian. So this idea somehow that this ascension, you just kind of, when you die, you're just there. And for each person, it's going to be different because each person, even in their spirit form before and after, they're going to remember what was before or after. But anyway, this idea that we're going into the fifth, these things are being, you have to understand this first and foremost. These are 3D beings trying to explain to you something that there is no reference to. Now, I use this as my analogy. I've been in several caves down here in South Georgia. A lot of people don't know about. I've been in this one 11 times. But for me to describe what it's like to be inside this cave, if I try to explain it to someone who's never been in a cave before, they're not going to understand it because they have no point of reference. Same thing with any dimensional shift that anybody's talking about, whether it's ascension or transition, they don't have a flippin' clue. Why? Because they can only refer to it with 3D realities. They can only describe it from what this 3D world we live in now. And they can't because it's like trying to describe a cave 100 feet below the surface, 400 feet in the earth, what it's like if you've never been in any type of cave. So um, you can imagine it all you want to, but having had the near death experiences and in having seen what some of these explanations about ascending to the fourth and fifth, I'm sorry, when you're out there floating around with death, it ain't what nobody's written down. simply because I don't have a point of reference to be able to try to explain it to you. And other people, they don't have a point of reference to explain it to me. So this fourth dimensional thing, unless you can take a picture of it, fourth dimensional is like being able to see spirit orbs and things and other types of stuff. Now, we can kind of get there a little bit with, I've taken pictures of orbs and stuff like that and fairies. Somewhere they're up on earlier channels. Hang on. But when I was out there dangling around in space, there wasn't this fourth, fifth, or sixth feeling. I was just there in that reality. So what is? Are you sure it's not the fourth, dude or dudette? You know, it was just there. Was it heaven? No, I don't think so. But it was not here. It was just there. Um, Hard to explain because there's no point of reference. So, unless you've had a similar type of experience, how can I explain this to you to where you would truly understand? Now, I'm not trying to be a dickhead about this, I'm trying to be honest. These folks are trying to explain something that, unless you've actually experienced, you're not going to have a point of reference. And some of the references, in my humble opinion, don't fit. They just don't fit the narrative. Well, you got to go through this and it's going to feel like that. No, when you're floating out there in eternity, it ain't nothing like I ever experienced with astral projection. Now, I've talked about this CD the last 2 hours. Okay. So I'm just giving you a little short version. You should listen to the beginning of this because I go into some details where I'm not going to go back over it now. Okay. But my own personal experience and you know and other people that I've spoke with who've had near death experiences. So when we go down the list of this and that, well, were we in the fourth dimension? Damn sure wasn't in the third. Okay, damn sure wasn't in the third. Fourth, fifth, well, who's counting? Because your reality is so different. Was it fifth dimension? Oh, this person came all the way down from the ninth to be able to lower themselves to talk to us. And you've heard those. And I'm like, well, so Brian and my grandma flying around with the angels and stuff, did they have to like come down from some up above and lower their energy vibrations so that they could talk to Dave? Didn't seem like anybody was in any kind of duress or Granny didn't was just there. So did they have to like come down from another dimensional so that I could interact with them? What? They were just there. Now, talking with other people and someone yesterday, and we have had, it's been too odd that have had such similar types of dreams and experiences lately, especially. And that it's like, wow, so our experience is like, and that's what it felt for you. And it get, oh, wow, that's really close to, you know, you agree what I described is really close to yours, and I agree what you just described that happened to you is really close. Okay. So comparing notes with folks who've had out of, you know, not just out of body experiences, but near death experiences, it's like, wow. So I would tell folks and ask folks before you go jump into this CD, it was astral, but it wasn't. I've been in a lot of astral and it wasn't. Oh my goodness. 105 on 107. I guess I'll be careful here and stay in the house. Yeah, you're able to stay cool enough, right, Steve? I hope. I know in my little hovel here, comfortable as possible. It's 1:37 a.m. in the morning time. I want to have a hit. There will be there will be people who will argue with me that, oh no, you don't have to die to ascend. Okay, try it. All right. You believe this because you have the Akashic records and the ascended masters, and they've all talked about. Okay, I'm just saying, for those of us who have had a peek on the other side here very recently, um, it's different. Um, Everything that I had. Let me put something to you. Two people side by side, and they don't know each other. They've ridden the same subway or train for years, and they've had minor chit chat. But there's a train wreck, and both of these people are killed. So they both go to the other side immediately. There's no waiting. You go right on, right? And so that whatever has happened up to that point of death doesn't matter anymore. He was a dentist and a wife and three kids. He ain't a dentist, and his wife and three kids are back on Earth, right? This other person used to walk dogs for a living and lived next to the park, and she can walk, the dogs in heaven all day long, but whatever she did or he did or they did or whatever is no longer valid once they have made their ascension. When they've tripped to the other side, that's it, Jack. The dirt nap happens immediately, and anything up to that point ceases. Okay? Because as I was worrying about things laying in my bed the other day, when I was out there floating around, I was like, none of that shit matters, does it? Oh my God. All the things I was worried about back at the house, all the things I was worried about with family and friends, all that, it doesn't matter. Oh my God. None of it matters. If I don't go back, none of this matters. Holy crap. None of it matters. None of it. My teachings and learnings and people, none of it matters. Why? Because I'm on the other side. It matters greatly in the 3D world, and but when you get to the other side, it don't matter because it is you've already achieved or done whatever it is up to that point when you took that crossover, when you crossed over the line and walked in from the cold, and you're like, whoops, whoa, this is different. Okay. So now what we do when we come back, that's different, and how we act or react with other people. But the idea, though, that anything up to that point where I was dangling with death, it just did not matter anymore. And I realized how much time I've wasted worrying about stupid shit that just don't matter when you cross over. Period. It don't matter. But what about don't matter? But something don't matter. What about blah blah blah? It don't matter. you know, it don't matter. Now, there may be folks that have missions after they pass away and once they make the ascension and stuff. I cannot answer to that. All I can say is that me and Brian had a really nice chat. Me and Granny had this understanding between us that was really nice. And whether anybody believes me or not, I know what I felt and saw. And here I was told I got to come back, and I'm groovy with it, because we need to have these conversations, and maybe it's try to help try to help set people straight on some things, because some of the stuff that some people are trying to sell like snake oil is just balderdash, in my humble opinion. It's someone else's opinion of something that you have no reference to understand, but they're going to try to explain it anyway because they think it's cool. And but that's the ascended master. Oh really? Well, there are folks that claim they've been talking to these folks, and oh my goodness, and but the folks who I've had real experiences with, they go, what? Really? And the thing about the Akashic record, and there are people who are, each one of us has our own. And so Steve's Akashic record is different than mine, but they may be similar. We may come from the same star system. We may have been partners or brothers in a previous life and some endeavor on maybe on another planet. But we're both here now in this lifetime to experience this. And okay. And Steve, I don't know, but it sounds like a good idea anyway, because we are brothers of some kind. And thank you for my blood pressure cuff. Um, but to the point, though, seems like we always took care of each other. Can I say in any way, shape, or form that I'm positive that Steve and I have met in a previous life or something? No, but there is a brotherhood and a kinship. We've talked on the phone now many times, and it's just there. Don't have to make it up. It's just there. And some similar events that have happened to us in our lifetimes. So it's this 3D reality going around. And similar, but not the same. So, what does this mean? I think a lot of us that are here this time around are here because we've known each other before, or we've worked on projects together. And this may be one. This project is that our duty is to just be nice to one another and share. And in my later life now, I can say that one of my best things that I wish is to share kindness, teach people again how kindness is important and imperative for the changing the world and to changing all kinds of stuff. So my mission is simple: let's teach kindness in all of its reiterations, or let's make up a couple, but we can be kind while we're doing it. I keep sliding down in this damn chair, and I'm uncomfortable, and I'm going to have to go pee. And I've been at this now for 2 hours and 23 minutes. So, everyone wastes time, it happens, but how much love did you share? How many lives did you touch or change? Yeah. And Chloe, it's not that you have to go out of your way, but were you nice to the people that you met along the way? So for me, my role was that I had to start this YouTube channel. I had to reach out to people in the middle of the night. I had to be able to, literally out, literally reach out in the middle of the night to the cosmos and say, "Hey, anybody out there that needs to have a chat? Come on, let's sit here in the middle of the night and have a chat." Right, Chloe? Right, Steve? I mean, right, everybody? Let's just, whoever's out there, let's stop by and have a chat with no other real intention other than that. Just, hey, let's be friends. Hey, let's connect. Hey, let's share one another whatever wisdoms or parlays or whatever craziness is going through my head, right? But when Brian was around, and he still is, we had decided that we wanted to be able to change folks' lives by simple things, not any kind of indoctrinations, or that you have to do this in order to make it. But no, it is true that um, I don't, I don't know. I'm curious, but I'll wait. The folks that I've talked to who have had near death experiences have all been decent people. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, it's because I ain't talked to a murderer or a rapist or anybody that may have had a near death experience to want to have a chat with them. You know what I mean? So, what was their experience like? Well, if they were a baby rapist and went to the other side and came back and was still a baby rapist, then they must not have learned much. Or whatever was there for them, they came back and said, whoopee, I'm going to keep going. Where for me, in certain things, I'm like, not that I'm a baby rapist, but they're like, wait, things that I'd been worried about and this and that and the other. When I get back to this now, I'm just not going to worry about them because I see how silly it was to worry about them in the first place. But, other folks have got different agendas and different, whatevers. Seeing death angels at times bothers me. I see everywhere, thankfully, I don't who they are for most of the time. Yeah, I think I've experienced that too. A death angel. That's an interesting way to put that, Steve. I know my friend who Marcia, who passed away now. She was the February lady. Um, when I last saw her, I could see death around her, and her her skin changed colors. There was this God. Listen to this one. That's a good. But let me see if I can explain this. There was a visual odor about her. What? It was almost like there was this essence or something that was coming off of her that was sort of cloudy, like a weird movie. And that if you got close enough, because I didn't want to get too close, oddly, but she was in the bed and over there, and I was delivering something, and I really had to go. And I was like, there's death in the air. You can almost taste it. And there was this whatever around her. And to describe it, wow, as a smell. The smell of death surrounds you. Ooh, that smell. Ba-da-da-da-ba. Anyway, so that's interesting. I saw it, but she passed away 2 months later after that, or actually it was 3 months later, but to the point. And I saw it when I worked in nursing homes that I'd have to go in each room every day, check temperatures coming out of the sink, always check the plumbing and stuff. So every day I was in somebody's room. I don't know, it was 100 bed facility, so there were 50 to 100 people every day that lived there, minus empty beds and so forth. But went in and just one lady, just it was like, whoa, something just. And I said, "Hey, nurse, I think this lady just died." And she was like, "What?" And I said, "I think this lady just died, Miss Smith or whatever." And she was like, "How do you know?" And I said, "Because I think I saw it." And she went, "Oh, yeah, we see it all the time. Be right there." And I'm like freaking out myself because I just watched this lady die. This spirit came out and I was glad for her because she was in a world of mess with tubes. She hadn't been awake in the 3 months that I had worked there, and I was glad to see that lady finally give it up. Like get out of here. Have you like not had enough stress and turmoil and being in a coma all this time and just laying there? So there are a lot of things that I've experienced that some folks haven't. And, you know, if you have no point of reference, like if you've never been in a cave, I know I'm bringing it up again, but if you've never experienced it, then how can you explain it? So, this 3D, 4D, 5D stuff, and anything beyond that, I just look at them and go, come on. Can we just like stick with the next one, which is 4D? Can we just stick with that one? Because anything above that, they don't understand 3D, most folks. How you're going to explain to 4D when there's no point of reference. I know I'm driving this thing home, but it's the truth. If you don't have a point of reference, then everything else is stupid. Well, if you drive 55 miles an hour down this country road, what if you've never been in a vehicle? What if you don't know what it's like to drive that fast down a highway? What if you've never experienced that? Is it like flying? Is it like transport? What is it? Um, Watching, the old silent movies, you know, 20 miles an hour was screaming, you know. Now 20 miles an hour you can do in a go-kart or a little moped thingy, right? Many anyway. Point of reference. So fourth dimension, we're peeking around it. That's the veil that's being lifted. Fifth dimension, y'all, please just to think about it and to try to relate to it or whatever, because when you get there, it doesn't make everything that you've prepared for up to that point does not prepare you for what it is. It just doesn't. So it doesn't mean you shouldn't prepare, but these folks who are worrying about it and how we're going to do and we're deal with the fifth, blah, 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 why don't you just take care of everyday business? Why don't you do the best you can in this day, time, period, stream, timeline, whatever you want to explain it? Do the best you can here. What are you worrying about? Something you have no point of reference. See, right back to it. Um, well, I'm going to go out and harpoon a whale. Have you ever been on a big sailing ship? No. Have you ever been out in open water? No. Well, I've seen this movie. Okay. But have you ever been in heavy seas? Have you ever been on a ship that's on 50-foot waves and you're at, and have you ever, I'm sorry, but well, I'm going to be a whaler. I'm going to, Moby Dick, blah, blah, blah. My point is, your point of reference is a story, is a movie, or something like that. So that you're living through an experience vicariously. They made a movie about those kids that got stuck in the caves years ago. And I was even I did a couple of videos about being in caves and stuff like that. And back when it was happening, we're sending prayers out that they would get them boys out, which they did. That's all cool. I'd like to see the movie now because I understand that, they did their best to portray what really happened, not make it up. Good for them. But having been in caves and it had been, was telling a friend of mine the other day, I said, I was in a cave and I don't know, a month before when we were in the same cave, there's the big pointy rocks and little tiny spots, and you have to go under them. And you might only have to go this far under them. But the next time we went, we were in waist high to almost chest high water. So the only way to get through this narrow passageway and in this cave is to go underwater now and under this pinnacle thingy. It ain't real hard, it ain't real far. But had you not been there before, and I turned and said, okay, this is where we got to dunk underwater. We got to go underneath this rock. You'd go, wait a minute. You didn't tell me we had to go. No, but I mean, last time we were here, this whole thing there was no water. There was some mud, and we were maybe wading in a couple of inches of water, but no, we didn't. Well, why didn't I bring a mask and a snorkel? I'm like, because I didn't think it was that deep. But anyway, so same cave, but different situations because of water levels. So, how do you explain that point of reference had you not experienced it before? Well, it was dry. That's how I know we can go under here and everything is safe. Point of reference. If you were going down this same thing, had not been there before, and you went, I'm sorry, I'm turning back. I can't get through here. No, we got to dunk under. Oh hell no. Oh hell no. Then back up. I'm out of here. It's still white foam. So by experience, you were in the cave before, shorter. Your point of reference is we all just ducked under it when it was dry before. We know there's a good dry spot just down this cave a little ways. All we got to do is dunk down right now and we'll be okay. And we were. But again, point of reference. So, fourth dimension, no point of reference. It's all hearsay. Why? Because none of us have experienced it. The people who are trying to describe it, where's their point of reference? It all sounds made up now to me. Fifth dimension, don't even mention it. Why? Because we've not experienced the fourth. How in the hell can we even begin to think we could try to comprehend what fifth dimension might be like? Because we have no point of reference. So my point about this is stop wasting your time. Yeah, it's really interesting and all that, but when you get to the other side, none of it matters. It really doesn't matter. So, and to argue about it now and to worry about it now, can you see where it'd be more positive that you just worry about making the transition into this next field of understanding, this next level of awakeness or nakedness or somethingness, and just accepting it, regardless if it's the fourth or the fifth or the ninth or the 20th. It doesn't matter. What matters is that we aren't freaked out about it. Oh, so this is what it feels like. Okie doke. All right. Oh, so this is what it's going to be. Oh, interesting. Okie doke. So we can plan it, and all we can plan for is to be ready for whatever and however it feels, and that we're going to allow it to happen. Because one of the things I found is like trying to like get out of it. Nah, there could be some folks who would not want to accept the way it feels. I mean that, oh, I don't know about you, so you could freak out. But I don't know where they would get you. But it's such a calming feeling being there. It's like So why worry about it? Do the best you can where you're at and try to, emula- eliminate any of these negative thingies going around that people are trying to, oh my God, they're trying to scare people again with the monkeypox. Well, apparently it's only through gay men. So you're worrying about your little children getting it, unless they've been hanging around them and having sex with gay men. Your kids should be fine. So oh my God, what they're trying to put on us. So take the time and worry about those things that may be like really more important than whether or not it's the fifth or sixth or ninth, and whether or not I'm saying these people are trying. They're selling snake oil because none of us know till we get there. Because they've made it that way, Joe. At Boston, I felt something bad was you don't ever got to share anything you don't want to. People are going to think we're crazy. Yeah, there's no reason to lie, and if somebody don't believe you, just never mind. And not out of spite or anything, just never mind. What you experience is real. You need whether someone, yeah. I say rather having forms of premonitions, very intuitive. Yeah, I've had some premonitions and stuff that just, you know, that volcano that went off down in Guatemala a couple of years ago. I told him, I said, I just don't want to know anymore. I could hear the screaming. I still can. It only takes but a little bit, and man, that experience is like right up here on this side, and it ain't nice at all. The screaming and the terror and the pain and the yuck. It was the pyroclastic flow that came down that volcano that I felt with the people who were killed on that when that volcano went down there that time. So I've asked that to leave them premonitions alone for me, unless it's something really important or something I don't know near me, next to me, or involves something kind of premonition. I don't want to know. Please, Mr. Custer, I don't want to go. There's a band of engines out there coming to take my hair. Please, Mr. Custer, I don't want to go. Oh, anyway, uh, I don't know if we played that night on Robert B's show or not, and I think we did actually. He found that song and played it. But anyway, um, in the last many years, it has just been. It started out, I think. The Let me come back here, um, Joe. Why are people so obsessed with Ascension? I honestly think it started in a legitimate way when folks started to study Buddhism. I mean, openly study Buddhism. And you go, what? Because that's when the word started being out and about. Because, the great Buddha, he meditated and then he ascended, right? So it's like, okie dokie. So it was in the public frame of discussion in the Western world with Americans and stuff that, unless you were Catholic, Ascension didn't really get much attention. But then we morphed into out of the hippie stuff and this and that into this other different type of thinking where, folks are taking LSD and mushrooms and in my lifetime, but the word ascension starts popping up. And that if you learn certain spiritual things, you will learn to ascend. And now, that the ascension process and so then as society discussed these things, they were showing up in movies, they were showing up in corner stores, they were showing up in head shops, you know, uh, and then the movies started to change in the 90s. Then we had X File, and then we started having movies that talked about, 1999. We're going to all, party like it's 1999. We're all going to ascend. It's going to be a new millennium. There's going to be a new energy. There's going to be, you see. And then as that continued on with it into the early 2000s, because I've been living it. I've been watching it. I've been listening to radio programs as the internet has come about. I've been listening and watching and tuning into all the old crazies. You know, for me, it was in the middle of the night with, Art Bell and, midnight radio shows and all the call-in talk shows and all of the above. And as I listened, so were other people. Then the internet started coming around, and then everybody started in. And so the word ascension and so forth has been growing within this conversation of new agey UFO kind of paranormal stuff that's been going on. And for those of us who have been curious about it, then the words have been popping up. And then a few years ago, with the event and the aliens, that there's going to be this ascension. We're all going to wake up to these things. And yeah, okay. So that's how we got here in the short, basically. Um, but I think it's our own curiosity, though, that has drawn us to the subjects, or it's our own curiosity that maybe the subjects were drawn to us versus us to them. Anyway, oh, honey, listen, Steve, it's too late for worry about being crazy. I've been locked up in a mental ward too. Screw them. Let them think we're crazy. I don't care. I think the ones that are out there are the crazy ones. Me and a good friend of mine had an experience like that. All of a sudden, it was like as if we heard Soviet soldiers killing a native tribe while they were dancing around the fire. Yeah, ain't that weird? We both heard it all the same. Lasted a good 45 minutes. Wow. Now, for me on the ascension, for me, the word has always been transition for a long time, but I understand what folks mean about ascension. They want to, quote, ascend to another level. They want to move to another level of experience or thought or spirituality. And in that is ascension. Because ascension supposedly means up. Well, but you can make a transition and not necessarily go up. You might go sideways, and that's the way you need to go. So not everything is always up. Okay, sometimes it's down, and it don't mean that it's bad. Sometimes down means to connect with Mother Earth. Sometimes it means to ground. It doesn't mean that you're connecting, with the devils or demons or shit like that, because people always want to go off on a tangent. All right, I'm really tired now. Oh, honey, when they put me in the loony bin and made me stay there for 4 days, well, 3 days left out on the fourth. They Baker act you for 3 days to see if you're sane enough. And I looked around and went, oh my God, being visited by spiders. Sorry, guys, you know the rules. You get on me, that's that. Um, and it was a decent sized one, too. I'm sorry, mofo, but you dead now. You know the rules. But I looked around at myself and I went, these people should not get left out on the street. I don't even want to be in this room with this people. And I was in a good ward, not with the really crazies. And I was like, it scared me to death to know that I was having my own personal issues and I'm crazy, I'm bipolar, I'm taking meds, and those people over there behind the glass wall seem to think that my behavior is such that I should be here locked up with you crazy motherfuckers. What? You all think I'm as crazy as these people? You're the nutty ones. You're what? You think I belong with these folks? And you want to keep me another extra day in case y'all haven't, what? I'm sorry. I have some issues, but I'd really like to talk to a counselor now. Can I get away from these people who are talking to like, listen, mister, they're going to they're going to eat us tonight. They're going to come and they crawl in across the floor and they come up your bed and I don't have a bed. Well, you mean you're going to be on the floor with a mattress? Yeah. Oh, I hope you're here in the morning. They crawl across the floor, the little creepy things, and it was about, whoa, and you got nowhere to run. You kind of like try to edge away from them, and they chase you down the bench. There's nowhere to sit. There are no chairs. There are benches and the floor, concrete floors. There are no place to put yo stuff because you don't get no stuff. You don't have any personal anything. You're just in there with these people wandering around in this large room. Yeah, it's creepy. And it's like that every single day. OMG, the monotony. Now, see, I can talk about crazy houses. I've lived there for 3 days and a couple of nights, and I have a point of reference versus just going to mental health, which, okay, but until you have been hogtied and put into a place like that, um, you have no point of reference. Talk to me all you want to, but until you may have seen it, you may have seen it in the movies, but until you have smelt it and tasted it and have lived on that cold, hard floor for 3 days and just you're wondering whether or not you shouldn't be crazy and just, but to other folks, like, well, just get over it. Just get over it. Just get over it. Okay. But the people who are really nuts, so yeah, you can medicate me. I'll go back on the street. These other folk, oh, please, Jesus, do not let that one out. Do you hear me, Lord? Do not let that guy out. Sweet Jesus on earth, do not let that one out. Under any circumstances, dear Lord, do not let that one out. The others, you shouldn't let that one out over there either. And please, but that one right there, the Lord have mercy, do not let him out of here. And for me to have sat in there with the crazy people and to have sat there on the floor and prayed, just that, do not let that person out. Don't, please. I don't know what y'all going to do with them, Lord, but please don't let him out. Please don't let him out. Oh my God, please don't let him out. So, what do we do? This is for another This is for another session and another subject. But what should we do with them kind of people? I mean, I was serious. Like, I think if I was that crazy, and you gave me a little purple pill that just knocked me out, and that was that, I think I'd take it. Because to live within a facility, to be that fucking crazy, I have to go a long way to try to explain it. And y'all might not have a point of reference to this, but any movie I've ever seen, but to be there and feel how crazy they are, to hear the demon in them talking unbelief underneath the breath, and you just go, okay. But now I used to be into scary movies and stuff, and some of them now are just mindless. But anyway, some of the ones though that were, I can hear them talk, the voices in their heads, and you can hear that voice, and holy crap, it's two voices going at the same time. It I don't know how you do it. I don't want to know, but don't let God, please don't let that one out. Do you hear me? That one over there, that honest to God smells like a demon. I mean, dude, don't let that one out. He's talking in tongues and shit. Don't let that one out over there. Do you hear me? And those aren't the really kinky, kooky ones where they put you. So, but anyway, it's been nice hanging out with y'all. It says it's 1:20. Actually, it is. It's 2:20. So I got this bowl packed. We'll do one. Last time in the middle where I had to sleep on cement slide in VA, which used to have beds with a mattress. Yeah, in Topeka, Kansas. Yeah, it sucks, don't it? Because they definitely can't be in public. Oh, they can't be anywhere. These people, I mean, honestly, I think some of these folks just need to be gently put to sleep. And I mean that in a nice way. I'm what I saw and experienced, if I knew that was me over there in the corner and that was the best I was the best I was ever gonna be, I'd say give me that purple pill. Give me the purple pill. It's just give me the purple pill. Joe, good to see you again, and hope I answered some. I hope you will consider what I said, as opposed to what other people say. Just consider what I said. And I'm fixing to hit this bowl. Not if you'd see how they're living. How they're living is inhumane. If you quietly put them to sleep and said, "Here's a purple pill," and they went, "Oh, good, my medicine," sitting there snapping and biting and have to be tied up all day long, um, to be, to not hurt themselves or anybody else. Some of the, I'm telling you, I know it sounds callous, but having lived with them, in with them, and I'm telling you, if that was my only choice, give me that purple pill. I'm cashing out of here, you know, for myself, and because I don't want to be here with these other crazy people neither. But to be locked up in jail is one thing. To be locked up in the crazy house, No. I'd be like, nope. Where's the purple pill? What are you talking about? You know, the pill. You give them to just one out. Um, I don't think God's going to be mad at me about this one. Where's your purple pill? You know. So, cheers, my dear friends. Woo, woo, woo. That was a good one. Gonna make me pee. All right, y'all. Yep, actually, I gotta just y'all cop for me. Now I gotta pee. Emergency. I've been promising for some time that we should have a show, you know, that I should put it in the title. Mental health and, you know, bipolar, because I was diagnosed as bipolar for a while. I mean, my brain issues and my mental health issues started when I started getting struck. You know, in 1971, 72, early 72, I was in a bad accident in Tampa, Florida, at the corner of Linebaugh and Florida Avenue. And we were headed north on Florida Avenue when a guy came in from behind us and put the pedal to the metal and never slowed down and hit the back of my international pickup truck and hit us so hard that it wrapped the cab of the truck and the bed around the doors so we couldn't get out. They had to cut us out of the vehicle. Now, it was an old 64 model old '64 model international pickup truck. So it was not, some light piece of tin thing. And it hit, when I hit the window, broke the steering wheel with my chest, and snapped back and broke the window behind me with the rear window of the pickup truck. So that started, the head injury started my problems. So it had some issues with priest and stuff, but by having had the severe head trauma, that really screwed with trying to understand and comprehend, uh, the emotional feelings I was still having on another level. So then I've had several other, head bangs. So, but it took a while for me to be able to get around after that head injury. People weren't talking about it. You were just crazy, or you got a headache, and so you're in a bad mood. And why do I feel this way? Why do I want to punch this person out when I'm not a violent person, but I want to claw this guy's eyes out? I mean, not everybody, but certain people. And why do I feel like I want to claw his eyes out? Now, it wasn't just a violent tendency, but it was just that there were things that, why do I feel like I need to do this? Why is this pissing me off so much? Why is, but anyway, so I've been diagnosed with all kinds of stuff. Let me go to sleep. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Chloe, the same thing. Oh God, it was a really bad accident. It really was. I crawled out the window of the truck, went back, took my shirt off. The guy that was went through the windshield and come back through it with no seatbelt, and his face was covered with glass in his face, and he was bleeding all over the place. I took my T-shirt off and gave it to him. And that's the last thing I remember. I sat down on the curb beside and passed out. The ambulances were leaving. The police were there. They were fixing to tow the vehicles away. And my friend said, "Don't forget Dave. He's over there in the ditch." They didn't see me and didn't even know I was part of the accident. They thought I was a drunk on the side of the street. And they went, "What?" And they go, "No, no, no, you got to get him too. He's the driver of the truck." What? Yeah, wait a minute. You mean they're not three victims, they're four? He's the fourth. Get him, and my friend was like, "No, no, no, you can't leave him lie there on the side of the road." And they were fixing to leave me lie on the side of the road, having had enough injury to my head as the anybody else there, right? Which also started my neck injuries and other things. But because of the physical impact of it, the fact that they were going to leave me on the side of the road, this um, my brain heard it all, and so for years I had this fear of someone was going to shoot me, like in the old west, and I was literally going to fall over in the dust in the gutter, and people were just going to walk over me. They were going to step over me. They were just I was just going to be dead in the gutter. And over the years, there's been a couple of instances like you're all by yourself and you feel alone, and not necessarily this last time in the hospital, but similar situations in my life before, to where I had been hurt severely and not near death, but shown up messed up and and in the hospital for real. Um, but feeling lonely that no one cares about whether or not you're healed or not. They bring you in the hospital, look at you, and go, you can handle this, and then just turn you loose. When you can't really handle it, you do need assistance. You need to at least talk it out, which is what I found out mostly. Everywhere I went, folks just wanted to push pills on me. What I needed was to sit down and logically talk some of this stuff out and and say, listen, I'm feeling like this right now, and I don't want to feel like this right now. Don't give me a pill. Show me, help me, let's converse. How can I stop feeling that way on my own? Hey, Susie Q. So one of the reasons why I'm still here and I yak all the time is because, that's what I needed. I just needed somebody I could yak at and go, well, this situation, it really hurts me and I don't know what to do. I feel trapped. Well, Hawkeye, if you tried this, well, have you thought about that solution? No, because I'm so wrapped up in what I think is the only solution, I couldn't see other solutions. So by just having conversation, and there are a couple of therapists. There's this one lady I love to death. She used to come to the theater, and when I could, I'd give her and her husband free tickets. But she loved coming to the theater and watch me act. And for years after I was not her patient, they would drive up from Tallahassee, and she would bring friends. She goes, if Dave's going to be in the play, it's going to be a good play. And last time I saw her, she was like, which had been several years ago, but we shook hands again. I still thanked her for all the good counseling and everything that she gave me. And she's supposed to be a therapist type person down in Tallahassee. And God bless this lady. If she's still doing it, then she's still doing it. Because she talked to me like a human being. And I was able, she told me one time, she goes, I learned as much from you in my search for finding answers as you did for me. And I was like, well, what? And she, remember that time you told me this story about blah, blah, blah? And I went, yeah. She goes, well, I had a similar something and blah, blah, blah. And I went, what? She goes, yeah, I learned about that too. She goes, you helped me just as much as I helped you, David. And I was like, nah, I don't think so. But, but to the point though, um, I, I was like, well, I can kind of see what you mean, especially when she was describing it when not as a counselor, but just as a person. And like after the show, we had a chat one night. She introduced me to her husband and all. And I've had really good experiences in that. And then I've had really dickhead experiences where they say, if you don't do what I tell you, if you don't take the pills that I tell you, you're just a bipolar crazy person and need to be locked up. The other end of the spectrum. So I'd like to have this conversation with other people and do it on a separate, with it in the title. So I'm tired this morning. It's 1:30 going on 2. Actually, it's 2:30 going on 3. So Susie Q, how are you? I'm fixing to go to bed. A friend of mine works at the prison. That's how I know that. Oh, yeah. I had some folks that work at the local prison near here too. Prison break in El Dorado, Kansas doesn't have a. I've been on them steel. Yep, slept on them steel bunks for a year in the concrete slabs. It's a harsh environment, let me tell you. All right, good night to you as well, Chloe and Steve. Thank you for the cup and the present inside. I got that too. Um, Miss Susie Q, it's good to see you, and I am so glad for me still to be here. I don't know what's coming up, but just know you got a friend in me. I'm going to hang out with you as much as possible. We can have different discussions. And The idea that they try to make you believe you're crazy when you don't really want to be crazy. What you want to be is at least normal in your own mind. Um, but, so they insist that because we're different, we're crazy. Now, I go along with that in just that if that's what you want to call me, okay, I'm good with it. Where it used to bother me, everybody thinks I'm crazy. I could I couldn't care less. I could care less. I don't care. Call me crazy. Okay, go ahead. Whether you think that way, and I'm just not going to worry about whether you think I am or not. And I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to assume you think I'm crazy anyway, and leave it at that, or that I'm just going to act it and watch your reaction. Like shave and not say anything, and then see how long it takes somebody to notice. I mean, little things like that, right? But so I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you and your friends and your family and folks you may know around you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings in the universe. And me and Duggar will going to go out and walk around here in just a little bit and try. The moon's in an odd place, by the way. Somebody asked me that the other night, and but it's really low in the south, a lot lower in the south than it ought to be. But I was surprised that I couldn't find the moon either. But it's out there, but it's really low to the south side. It should be much higher in the sky like this. But anyway, me and Duggar will continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings that are just out there in the universe. And in that law of three, that is really important to me, I continue to pray that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And also that y'all just keep up the good work with what you're already learning and be strong in that. It's not how much more you're going to know, but do you believe in what you know at this point? Think about that little gem. Are you comfortable with what you know up to this point? You know you're doing the best you can? Good. We support each other on that. If you're backsliding a little bit and need a hand, we'll help. If you're backsliding on purpose, you might just get dropped. But the idea that we are all working together to help each other out spiritually, mentally, and etc., that's a good thing. Keep up the good work, no matter where it is, and no matter whether you help someone by opening the door, by saying thank you. One of the things that the universe keeps asking, you know, be grateful for what you have and just look up to the sky and say thank you. I am grateful for what I have. If I get anything more or whatever, I am grateful for what I have. And in that, there is abundance. Whether you have a lot or a little, just be grateful. And if we worry about it's going to get worse, blah, 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 be grateful for what you have. And the spirits hear that. So I love you. Until next time, um, y'all, please be safe. Michelle, I love you. Susie, Steve, um, Chloe, Susie, Steve, Chloe, yep. All right. I got to quit talking. And, yep, until later. Okay. Please be safe. Cheers, everybody. Believe, 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 believe. and I'm going to keep praying for each and every one of you. Okay? Cheers, TTFN.